Hello and welcome to Scientifically Speaking. Today I'll be talking about Hans Alfven and his work with an electric circuit sun. His electric circuit sun has never been proven in a laboratory. I'm here to show you that God showed me how to prove it. So you're going to see the first time ever proof of Hans Alfven's circuit sun. Magnetic fields are usually taught as drawings. Curved lines leaving a north pole, looping through empty space and returning neatly into a south pole. It's clean, it's simple, and it's wrong. Or more precisely, it's incomplete in a way that matters. What I'm about to show is not a reinterpretation. It's not a metaphor. It's a physical demonstration that exposes where the school model stops and where real magnetism actually begins. And it leads directly into the work of Hans Alfven, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist who warned us that treating fields as abstractions would eventually break astrophysics. This is a ferrocell, a micron-thin layer of ferrofluid sealed between glass. Each particle is magnetic. Each particle is free to rotate. Each particle responds only to the local magnetic field it experiences. There is no averaging, there is no smoothing, no computer interpretation. The ferrocell doesn't draw field lines, it reacts. That makes it one of the most brutally honest magnetic detectors you can use. This is how magnetism is taught in schools. Field lines emerge from the North Pole, curve gracefully through space and re-enter the South Pole. Excuse my flubbing. Students are told this is what magnetic fields look like, but this is not a physical picture. It is a macroscopic approximation, a teaching shortcut that hides internal structure. And until now, most people never questioned it because they never saw anything better. Now watch what happens when a real medium is introduced. Structure appears. Not smooth lines, not idealized loops, but layered geometry, density variations, symmetry planes. This immediately tells us something important. The magnetic field has internal structure that textbook diagrams completely erase. The ferrocell didn't create this structure, it revealed it. Now pay very close attention. As the magnet moves towards the ferrocell's center, the field becomes stronger, clearer, more organized. But as it reaches the central internal boundary, the block wall, the field disappears. Not weakens, not blurs, it cancels. This plane corresponds to the block wall inside the magnet, the region where magnetic domains flip orientation. This is not taught in basic magnetism diagrams, but it is real magnetism. Opposing magnetic vectors sum to zero. The field still exists, but the medium has no net force to respond to. This alone proves something critical. Magnetic fields are governed by internal domain structure, not imaginary external loops. On the left is a school diagram with smooth loops. On the right is the ferrocell image, structured, layered, cancellation plane. These two images do not describe the same thing. The school model ignores domain structure, ignores cancellation planes, ignores internal symmetry. My experiment shows that the classic diagram is not wrong, but it is provably insufficient. It fails at the exact point where real physics happens. Now watch what happens next. As the magnet passes through the block wall, the field reappears. Same structure, same geometry, same symmetry. Nothing resets, nothing reforms randomly. The magnetic system is continuous. Only orientation relative to the medium changes. This proves that magnetic fields are not properties of empty space. They are properties of matter in ordered motion. Here's a point most people miss. The ferrofluid does not change the magnetic field. It reveals it. whether the surrounding medium is air, vacuum, plasma, or ferrofluid. The laws governing the field do not change. Only our ability to see structure improves. This is devastating to oversimplified teaching because it means the field was always structured. We just weren't looking properly. Hans Alfven understood this decades ago. He argued that magnetic fields are not abstract entities floating in emptiness. They imply electric currents, charge carriers, and a medium. He said astrophysics had made a fundamental error, separating magnetic fields from the electrical system that creates them. For insisting on this and proving it mathematically and experimentally, he won the 1970 Nobel Prize in Physics. Alfven described the sun as a rotating magnetized plasma body embedded in a conductive environment. Rotation plus magnetism produces electromotive force. That force drives currents, and currents must close. That closure is what Alfven called an electric circuit, not wires, not batteries, a plasma current system guided by magnetic fields. Now we connect the laboratory to the sun. What does my experiment prove? It proves that magnetic fields have internal structure. Cancellation planes are real. Domain geometry matters, and fields require a medium to express themselves. That's why energy is only visible when it meets matter. This directly supports Alfven's framework, because once magnetic fields are treated as physical systems instead of drawings, electrical interpretation becomes unavoidable. This is the foundation of the electric circuit model. Let's be precise, because precision is power. This experiment does not prove that the sun is externally powered, that fusion is wrong, or gravity is irrelevant. What it does prove is deeper. Magnetic systems, from laboratory magnets to stars, obey the same electromagnetic laws and cannot be treated as isolated abstractions. That forces Alfven's framework back onto the table. Alfven warned that physics had become too comfortable with symbols, equations without media, fields without currents, models without physical testing. My Ferrocell experiment does the opposite. It forces magnetism back into matter, back into response, back into reality. I didn't overturn magnetism. I exposed where simplification replaced structure. I didn't rewrite the sun. I demonstrated the continuity of electromagnetic law, from the block wall inside a magnet to the magnetic architecture of the sun. The same physics applies. This is not belief. That's observation. At this point, it's tempting to want a verdict, a declaration, a final answer. But real physics doesn't work like that. What this experiment does is something more important. It reopens questions that were prematurely closed. Questions about how magnetic fields are taught, how electrical systems in space are modeled, and how often abstraction replaced physical testing. The Ferrocell doesn't argue, it doesn't persuade, it doesn't convince. It shows. And once something is shown, it can't be unseen. One of the most common objections is scale. This works for magnets, not stars. This is laboratory physics, not astrophysics. But scale does not change law, only parameters. Maxwell equations do not expire at planetary distances. Domain behavior does not stop at microscopes. Cancellation planes do not vanish in plasma. Hans Alfven made this point repeatedly. If your cosmic model contradicts laboratory plasma behavior, the model is wrong, not the laboratory. Your experiment doesn't teach scale, it connects it. My experiment doesn't collapse scale, it connects it. Let's be clear about what comes next. This work invites higher resolution ferrocell imaging, controlled variation of magnet geometry, comparison with plasma discharge experiments, and alignment with spacecraft magnetic field data, especially heliospheric current measurements, solar magnetic neutral sheet behavior, and field-aligned current structures. This is not a finished argument. It's a physical starting point. That alone separates it from speculation. The sun is magnetic. That is not debated. It exhibits polarity reversals, current sheets, reconnection events, structured magnetic topology. Those are electrical phenomena. Whether fusion dominates energy production or not is a separate question. But magnetism does not sit on the sidelines. And Alfven's insistence that the sun must be treated as part of an electrical environment is now supported by decades of spacecraft data and by simple physical demonstrations like this one on screen. After seeing this, a few things are no longer possible. You can't honestly teach magnetism as smooth imaginary loops in empty space without explaining what's missing. You can't talk about solar magnetism without talking about currents. And you can't dismiss electrical interpretations of cosmic systems without first accounting for physical magnetic behavior at every scale. It's not radical. That's due diligence. Science doesn't move forward by consensus alone. It moves forward when observation challenges simplification, when experiments expose assumptions, and uncomfortable questions are allowed back in. Alfven didn't win a Nobel Prize for being popular. He won it for being right about plasma and magnetism long before it was convenient. This video doesn't end with a conclusion. It ends with continuity. From a ferrocell on a desk to the magnetic structure of the sun, the same laws apply. And not because we want them to, but because nature doesn't change its rules to match our diagrams. This experiment doesn't close the book, it reopens it. And that's where the real science begins. Before I go, let me tell you about media mogul Robert Maxwell. We've just learned that, as the Bible states, the world is built on lies. So I wonder where this ridiculous model of the Earth's magnetic field came from that is taught in schools. Well, all you have to do is look at the media mogul from the 70s onwards, Robert Maxwell. He significantly influenced school and education books, primarily through his acquisition of major publishing houses. He was very rich. His Maxwell Communication Corporation acquired Macmillan Inc. in 1988, a massive educational publisher. Additionally, he founded Pergamon Press, which became a major publisher of scientific and academic material. So he influenced this. His daughter is Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who was always around Epstein. So now you know these are lies that were done on purpose. And it's always the same people involved. Turn to Jesus, because he is the only escape route from this hell planet. Thanks very much. My name is Lee. I follow the Christ, and you've been lied to forever about everything. Thanks a lot. Bye.